All right, it's time. Rosillo could not be here tonight, but we're playing Throne Game anyway. He won't mind.
We can talk about it with him Tuesday.
We can talk. We'll let him. We'll let him do his thing when we have. I think we're doing Tuesday night with him.
Yeah.
But we're gonna play episode 4 of Throne Game. 80-minute episode. They show at the beginning. They show the card at the top with the nudity, violence. They show the V for the AC for adult content, V for violence, L for language. And you were immediately upset there's no N for nudity. So that's how we started. I should add that we watched this episode with my mom and Kyle. And my mom had just made us this feast, and you were complaining about the no N for nudity. What's the matter with the show? Why aren't they going out with a bang? It's HBO. Phenomenal start by you.
I just want Game of Thrones to stay true to itself.
Yeah. You're like, don't lose your identity. Game of Thrones is like Steph Curry right now.
That's right. They need
Don't forget who you are.
They haven't really killed anybody that matters yet, and we've been on a real streak here lately.
Well, all I can say is AT&T buys HBO, and all of a sudden there's no more nudity in Game of Thrones. So I don't know. Draw your own conclusions.
And only the good guys are winning. Not interested in that.
Remember when Oz was on? You and I used to have this joke about how the card at the top should really spell out what was happening in that episode. So we
needed a lot more information about what was going to happen.
GPR for gang prison rape.
I mean, there was
today's episode is GPR.
It would have been very helpful if they could have been a little more specific about what was coming.
What was the other one? The take a shit on somebody's head. Today's episode is ranked TSS.
We needed to know more. Everything involving Adebisi, I needed to know more. I need an Adebisi warning.
The card's like just violence, adult themes. Like it just did not cover Adebisi's behavior
and
in that show.
Anything involving Beecher. God.
Tonight's episode involves raping somebody while putting your headphones on when they're passed out. All right, so you're upset about that. So new intro, which nephew Kyle noticed. That's why he gets the big bucks. What did they add, Kyle?
It's just like the intro that you see. They used to go all around like the map, and then it just looked like it was going through King's Landing, basically. So it's just like, I think it was just sort of foreshadowing, like, all right, we're worried about King's Landing now.
They started showing some more crown stuff, it seemed like.
Yeah.
But wait, it's been the same opening for
No, they added. They did a couple tweaks.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think so.
So
Twitter let us know.
The show started out, they had all the dead bodies piled in these perfectly symmetrical, awesome piles, dead body piles.
Great dead body piles.
Great, best dead body piling. Really good spacing with the dead body piling. No Ben Simmons really in dead body piling.
You didn't have one.
Ben Simmons just wandering between the dead body piles.
There wasn't one out of the 3-point line wandering aimlessly.
I can't. It seemed like it had been at least a couple days with some of the dead bodies. Did you get that feeling? Maybe like 48 hours?
Like overnight. Like it's always hard to get the time signature for these things.
Well, because they showed a couple of dead bodies. They look pretty dead.
But you
looked a little gamey. So already the smell's not great. And you know what else doesn't smell good is when you burn like 20,000 of the dead bodies at the same time.
It is,
That had to have been, I would say, the most. I mean, Game of Thrones, a malodorous show to begin with. Not a lot of showering, deodorant, perfume.
I mean, we're really
toilet paper,
holding our noses on a lot of suspension of disbelief kind of stuff here.
Yeah.
But that many dead bodies, the way that they died and however long they were out there, you're not giving speeches. Jon Snow's not standing there. Everybody's convened within 30, 40 yards of these bodies, and we're all going to stand here. So it's
a stench.
It's the worst thing you could ever smell. We're programmed to not be in the presence of our dead brethren.
Yeah, good points. Yeah, Jon Snow's like trying to win an Emmy, and meanwhile, there's 20,000 dead bodies, and the wind's blowing toward everybody.
Yeah.
He's like, here's one more toward there. They're like, can we burn the bodies? So I always thought the worst smell in the show would have been the dragon breath. I mean, those dragons, like, they're just eating. What are they eating? What do the dragons eat, Kyle?
They're like cows and goat and shit like that.
Right. Not a lot of mouthwash with the dragons.
I'm surprised. Out of all the bad smells, that's not my number one. In the same way that our dogs eat terrible, terrible things.
Well, I'm just saying the dragons, but hot fire breath, though?
Feels like it could be a cleansing agent. Whatever it is that allows them to breathe the fire could have the effect of producing
that's interesting. You think it's so hot it burns all the germs?
Yes, it's an antiseptic effect.
Oh, that's good. Well, either way, it doesn't smell as bad as 20,000 dead bodies burning. So they decided to follow that up by having a giant feast.
As you do, as you will.
What makes you hungrier than the smell of 20,000 burning bodies?
Well,
let's have some food and some drink.
They did win the war.
Yeah.
It was a celebratory feast.
It was celebratory. There was definitely a celebratory feel. You had the sarcastic remark. I'm glad they turned the lights on for this episode. That felt like a dig. Definitely
it was good to see people's faces for more than 4.5 seconds.
Did you like the glasses they were drinking out of? Because every time they bring those out on Game of Thrones, I always feel like I want like 20 of those. Those big horn glasses.
Well, they had a whole.
What are those
variety.
called, Kyle? You like to drink?
Flagons? No, probably not. Right?
Yeah, something like that.
They probably did have flagons. There was a whole array. There was a whole variety. You like a real marketing opportunity here. The Game of Thrones drinking collection.
So, very festive. People busting balls. The bearded guy, Tormund, he's going around doing stuff.
Getting cock blocked. That was tough.
Yeah, well,
he's making sure everybody does shots.
Doing shots. He's spilling beer all over the place. Gendry or Gendry?
I think we're going with Gendry.
Gendry? So he became a lead Stormhouse guy. Is that what it's called?
Dragonstone?
No, they gave him the lead, the head of the storm. They gave him
the head of the storm.
No, they gave him some new title. They made him Gendry Baratheon.
Gendry Baratheon. They gave him Dragonstone, I thought. Or
yeah.
They gave him something.
Great. Well, he was psyched.
They gave him an accolade.
And then it was the first sign of alpha dog issues with Dany and Jon. Very reminiscent of Curry Durant, I felt like.
I don't
Dany's
feel
like, this is my team. I have the dragons. I have the rings. I've won the MVPs. And yet the team's gravitating toward Durant. I don't like this. That was the feeling I got from her.
Well, you're not wrong. It just doesn't apply to Curry and Durant.
As far as you know. They planted the seeds for this the last 2 episodes, and I like it.
Yeah, it's been building to this, the entire season. That's the whole point of the great reveal. We've been waiting for the effects of the great reveal, and I haven't checked the odds lately, but I think that I'm going to go look when we're done with this. I want to see where Sansa Stark comes out on some of this. I feel like, if there's a survivor thing out here, I want to put some odds on her. Who kills Dany? If I can get odds on who kills Dany, Sansa would be my lead candidate for that. Although it could be Jon. Jon might kill her.
So they're playing a drinking game. Wasn't positive what that game was.
Looked like Truth or Dare.
Was that what it was?
Yes, Truth or Dare.
They did it in like the first. Or
it was the
season.
1300s version of Truth or Dare.
1300s
was different. So Tyrion calls out Brienne of Tarth's virginity. Went predictably terribly.
Yeah.
Once again, he's just a dick. We love him, but he's that guy. That's when it started to feel like there was a Holy Cross late 80s kind of feel to that party. Tormund's walking around. He reminded me of like 30 guys we went to college with. About to get in a fight with the rugby
25
team.
25 of them were rugby dudes.
And Tyrion's just being a dick.
Yeah, I mean,
Tyrion was like Horrocks. That's something Horrocks would have said in college. During Truth or Dare, he would have called out Brienne of Tarth's virginity. She didn't like it. She walks off. Tormund goes to follow her, and Jaime gets the upper hand. No pun intended.
He immediately blocks. It was literally a cock block.
Cock blocking.
It was a literal cock block.
I almost made a joke, but I'm not going to.
You're going to name a name.
Your 50th birthday's coming up. We've been friends for over 30 years, and we're on the same wavelength with a story from the past.
You're going to name some names of some famous cock blocks in history.
He knows. He knows what he did.
He knows what he did.
Wasn't anyone in this room. So anyway, then we had Hound and Sansa.
Yeah.
Little reunion scene.
Sure.
And he's like, yeah, if you'd come with me, all that terrible stuff wouldn't happen to you. Like Littlefinger, just getting horribly sexually assaulted for however long by Ramsay, and it was just really bad. And she comes back with, well, all that stuff made me the person I am now.
That's right.
probably would have chosen a different path. I don't know. She was a little too positive about it.
Well, I think this is the thing, is it goes to the point of her fitness to be a potential leader. She might, at the end of this thing, she's, who's going to sit on the throne, not ruling her out.
Yeah.
She's got the chops.
She
literally took some chops too.
So then Gendry goes to Arya, who's, hanging out. She likes to just be in the dungeon shooting bow and arrow. That's how she spends her Friday nights.
Killer gonna kill.
Didn't want to be part of the revelry. She's like, I'm going to go down and work on my bow and arrow.
Shoot or shoot.
And he's like, hey, good news. They just made me a sir. I have this new title and you can be my lady. And then gets on the knee, proposes.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty quick. It's sex once. I know she has some superpower. She can change her face. She killed the Night King. I know you get a little carried away when you're in love, but this seemed quick. So she does the Bachelor season finale move, where before saying whether she accepted the proposal or not, recaps how great their relationship is, and it's all leading toward the but.
Yeah.
And you could feel it coming. And then she's basically like, I'm no lady.
Yep.
You know who I am? I'm the fucking Night King killer. I'm not getting married to you.
I'm a stone cold killer, bitch.
You know what I do? I go kill the bad guys.
That's what I do.
I don't want to be your wife.
What I do. Yeah.
And she's out. And that's it for Gendry.
I'm not nobody's wife.
So he loses the Lady of Light, his 450-year-old girlfriend, and then he loses his 18-year-old girlfriend. Tough times.
He'll be all right.
Tough times.
He's got that big one. He's still packing that big heat.
Did they have Match.com in the 1300s or no? Kyle?
If they did, all he has to do is say, I got the big one.
They were called brothels at that point.
That's right. He's in a brothel for the.
They all know he's got the big one.
That's Podrick. I think that's.
Oh, I'm missing up with Gendry.
Yeah,
and
Podrick was one of the big ones.
Son of a bitch.
So Jamie hooked up with Brienne, and that was when my mom, who had a couple glasses of wine in her, when we were talking about, they kind of cut away from the sex scene. I think one of us made the point, it's too bad they didn't do that with Arya, because our little Arya, none of us have recovered from that. And my mom goes, that Arya sex scene, that would be like if we were watching the show and Zoe had a sex scene, meaning my daughter, and all of us recoiled in horror. And that was when we took her wine glass. That was horrible.
That was the moment. That was the highlight of the show. I mean...
So then Daenerys meets Jon Snow, and she's basically like, don't tell anybody about this whole thing where I'm actually your aunt and you're the rightful heir to the throne. And he's like, well, what if I just tell my family? And she's like, no, you're not doing that. And he goes, well, how about you can still be the queen, but I'll still tell my family because that's my family. And she's like, no, actually, if we're going to make this work, you're not going to tell anybody. And then he ends up telling his family. And the irony of this is Kyle's saying those really aren't his sisters and brothers now, because they don't have the same mom or the same dad. Him, right. Arya,
yeah, they're like cousins.
Sansa, and the king of comedy, Bran.
Yeah, they're cousins.
Bran's king of comedy tour is starting in 2 months. He just comes out, he acts weird, everybody laughs. So I think at that point, since she has 2 dragons at that point of the show, I think maybe you go, all right, I won't tell anybody. That sounds good. Let's keep this one between us. Now, next scene, he's got his brothers and sisters together. Hey, I got something to tell you, but you got to swear, can't leave the room. He already knows his sister Sansa hates Dany.
Yes.
I mean, come on, dude.
Nah.
The rule of women who don't like each other, they're going to take a nugget like that and immediately spin it in the worst way possible.
I mean, his judgment is questionable since he was stabbed 37 times.
That's true. He did come back to life.
Yeah.
But it did make me wonder if he's fit for the Iron Throne, if he's not smart enough to realize that Sansa's going to tell somebody like in 5 seconds. Like, you might as well just put that in the newspaper. They have newspapers in the 1300s?
He could be a little more calculating.
Bad job by Jon Snow. He's such a good guy, it works against him sometimes. So he tells, I forgot that Daenerys, when John's like, I really want to make this work. And she said, we can. I just told you how.
That's right.
Icy.
STFU.
Oh, and I forgot that we cut to Jaime and Brienne and Tarth in bed after coitus. And Jamie's wide awake, just staring off into the distance, and Brienne's asleep. And That's when I asked you why on TV after two people have sex do they always go back to the aftermath and one person's asleep and the other person's wide awake. We never catch two people asleep or both people awake. It's always one falls asleep and the other one is lost in thought, either unhappy with how it went or can't sleep.
I hope that's just on television, because if it happens in real life, I'm always the one that's asleep.
I was going to say, if that's happened to you 500 times in life, 500 of those times, you were the one snoring.
500 times, 99.
you had your partner was lying next to you awake, not because they were lost in thought, because they couldn't believe how much you snored. They're like, oh my
or
God.
how much I smelled. Those are the options.
Another thing. This year they really added more jokes about John's height.
I mean, Tormund just gets in that ass.
He said, "You weigh as much as two fleas fucking," was one of his comments.
It's a good line.
Yeah, but it's almost like they've read all the internet making fun of Jon Snow's height and they just decided to lean into it this year, which I appreciate.
Me too.
Great job by them. Bron made a power play. Not LeBron, Bron. Bron made a power play. He decided to steal the hosting duties from Maverick Carter for this week's episode of The Shop. And also made a power play on Tyrion and Jaime. And they made some deal. I didn't really understand what was going on. At that point, I was really focused on getting the wine glass away from my mom. Sam and John said farewell.
Bron, not Bran, Bron.
Bron.
Yeah, well, because Cersei paid him to come in there and kill those sons of bitches. You know, she's smart. She knows. And he gave them, he was true to his word. He had promised Tyrion in season whatever. You got to ask Mallory and Concepcion this, that Tyrion got Bronn to give him his word.
I remember it. They recapped it. I just wasn't that interested. I was more focused on my mom.
It was good play. I mean, you know, I thought there were two instances where I thought Tyrion might catch it this week.
So then Sam and John said farewell, and Ghost for some reason went with Tormund because he needs a dog because he can't get laid.
Well, the direwolf
needs a wolf
belongs
dog.
in the wild in the north.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt like I wanted a better farewell for Ghost. It was kind of like the equivalent of on the video screen at the basketball game. They kind of gave him the one right there in the 20-second timeout, but he didn't get like his own 3-minute one that was clearly going to be on the internet after.
Well, how about this? Do you really think that this is the last we're going to see of all those peeps, including?
Yeah, you're probably right.
I mean, come on.
Good call. So then everything seems okay, and then all of a sudden, Daenerys is flying with Bob and Stan, her two dragons. I didn't realize those were their names. Bob and Stan. Bob gets hit by the arrows. So she's riding Stan. Bob's next to them. And Bob takes like the biggest arrow I've ever seen in my life. And then another one that takes his head off and goes right in the water. So now she's down to one dragon.
Yep.
Tough times. What's the guy's name? Greyjoy? Euron Greyjoy?
Euron, the guy with the ships.
Yeah. Euron.
That's right.
Cersei's new guy.
He's a known dragon killer. He's
dragon
the only
killer.
one that's got the technology.
Yeah. He's like the Daryl Morey of dragon killing.
That's right. That's
He's
why
figured
Cersei
out-
pulled him in.
He's figured out high volume shooting arrows is like threes.
I think Cersei is the Daryl Morey, and Euron is Harden.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. So she's down to one dragon. They wiped out the ships, and they took Grey Worm's girlfriend. And Tyrion got knocked out again, which I think is like 4 concussions for him over the life of this show.
He
Like,
bounced right back. He wasn't even in the protocol. It was like the NFL.
Kristen
Right back on the field.
Chris Nowinski's got a tweet about this tomorrow. Tyrion's right back out there right after this
It was
concussion.
the quarterback that did that last season.
Tyrion's been knocked out at least 3 times during this show, right? At least 3, maybe 4.
I'd say at least I can count 3 that I'm thinking of right now. So yeah.
No concussion protocol.
Nah, it was the 1300s. The Grey Worm's lady got taken prisoner, and then Dany, they have this big debate about what to do, and she says, "I'm here to free the world from tyrants, and that is my destiny." I actually felt like her destiny was being Mother of Dragons, but I don't know. Seems like she's a little bit confused these days. So then the last 10 minutes was pretty intense, House.
Dramatic.
Jaime pulls the old adios on Brianna Tarth.
That was coming.
You knew it was coming, but tried to sneak out. She sniffed it out. And then he's basically like, everything I've ever done is for Cersei. You don't understand. I'm a bad person.
Yeah.
She's hateful and so am I.
Classic bad boy.
She's hateful and so am I is more than a bad boy. That's pretty tough.
Pathological?
That's pretty tough. So poor Brianna Tarth. She waited all this time to give her virginity to a one-handed man. It was the wrong one-handed guy. They make the big trip. They take Amtrak to Cersei's island.
Didn't
whatever.
take very long.
Yeah, all of a sudden they were there. And they do the unconditional surrender standoff. Tyrion goes for the Emmy, gives the big speech, tries to talk Cersei out of this. And then let's just say she didn't agree to terms. You know why? You know why I know this? Because Grey Worm's girlfriend had her head cut off and then she was shoved off a tall building. So that to me said, I'm not really interested in your offer.
I want to know.
That's what the Pelicans are going to do with the Lakers this summer, I think, with Anthony Davis. They'll be like, hey, what about Davis? Can we rekindle? Just like beheading, push somebody off a tower.
The showrunners got to explain why Cersei, in that moment, ruthless killer that she is, she made a political calculation not to just wipe out that whole troop right there. Why? What's the downside of killing Dany right there in that moment? Dany, Tyrion, who?
Because you don't get Jon Snow.
So what? You got Dany, the mother of the dragon. Who's going to ride the dragon?
It did seem like a pretty big risk from Dany and the gang to just be widely exposed right out there in the open, right after they'd just been sneak attacked and one of her dragons got killed.
You're supposed to
I didn't agree with the strategy.
You're supposed to believe that there's, that whatever that sort of honor code where you're having discussing terms of peace potentially. You explore the peace process, and so there's a protected cone there. But Cersei don't have no rules. She killed that whole city. She blew up that whole city and all those religious fanatics and everybody that went along with it. She doesn't give a fuck. Why didn't she just take them all out right there?
Don't have an answer for you.
Oh, okay. All right. I mean, maybe there's something in the book, but
I mean, it wouldn't even be one of the 9 worst things she's ever done.
It runs maybe she's there. The best you can come up with to me is like, she doesn't know where Jaime is. And in her heart, she wants the father of that baby to be part of the picture. And Jaime could be at risk, but that's pretty tenuous. Does she give two shits about Jaime at this point?
I don't think she cares about anybody.
I agree.
I think she's off the reservation.
Me too. She should have iced that whole joint.
Cersei, this is the worst hairdo she's ever had.
I'm not a fan of this one.
I don't know what she's doing with this particular hairdo, but it is really rough. They're not doing her any favors.
I mean, she looks like a killer.
Okay.
She should killer should kill.
I gotta say, they could have thrown in one scene with her and Euron Lovejoy. Greyjoy? Euron Greyjoy. They could have thrown in one scene, like just them kind of hanging out.
Give me an N. Give me an N.
Just
give me that N. Why couldn't I have my nudity?
Oh, you wanted the N. I
Give
didn't
me
know what
my
you were
N.
talking about.
That's what I'm asking for. Just give me my N. It's Game of Thrones, for Christ's sakes.
Take it up with AT&T. They have all your data, and now they're taking away your nudity.
They're trying to let the good guys win. I'm not interested in that.
Well, they did it. They did chop somebody's head off at the end. It's not like this
was a bit player.
I thought it was better than the first 2 episodes. 3 was great for its own reasons, but I think this was the second best one.
I like this one.
I liked it.
3 was fine, except for you couldn't see it. This one,
I like the whole.
See.
I like the smell of dead bodies feast that they had. Was really enjoyable.
Killing the dragon was truly breathtaking and unexpected.
Good special effects.
Great special effects.
Next week's supposed to be nuts too.
Was that Bob or that was Stan died? Bob is still alive.
Bob's alive.
Bob's the only one left.
Stan might come out of the water, by the way. Don't be surprised if we get a Stan reemergence. You never know.
He looked pretty good.
It looked fatal.
Stan went in the.
It looked
he
like
went
a
in the
kill
ocean,
shot.
but I'm not positive. We never saw like the floating dragon.
That's what I mean. Maybe he's got some kind of powers.
Maybe the King of Comedy can bring him back.
What's her face? The witch isn't around to bring him back. Melisandre.
You don't think King Comedy can bring him back?
he could, but he's, I'm going away.
They should have thrown him in the giant drunken feast. They should have just had him at a table like with two people who didn't know him that well and just make it small talk. So, Bran, where are you from?
They've really said
it doesn't matter where I'm from. I just live in the past.
Whatever cause he has in those books, they've really set it back on the show. He is
the white
not
eyeballs
likable.
cause.
He is not likable.
Would you rather have him coaching the Sixers or Brett Brown?
Is there a difference?
So then, yeah, the last thing I wrote was why not just kill Daenerys right then and there? Seemed like it made sense. It's almost like they wanted to keep her around because she's a liability.
It's almost like they wanted to keep her around so that they could fill out the next 2 shows.
Wow. So you think Sansa's the Iron Throne?
I'm going to go online to see what odds I can get on it. I know that much.
Well, I just looked. They don't have odds.
That's okay.
Would you take 5-1 on Sansa?
Oh, God, yes. I would love 5-1.
3-1?
3-1 is like, I would also play 3-1, and then under 3-1 it's like, why bother? But I'm gonna hit the cuz. I'm gonna text the cuz after this. Cuz has access to all the exotics.